Today, I'm talking about a paper by S.C. Sales. It's called Spiritual Warfare, the Accuser and the Advocate, Jurisdiction, Judgment, and the Structure of Spiritual Conflict. Whew, that's a big title, right? But honestly, the questions this paper wrestles with are even bigger. So let me set the stage a little. The core question at the heart of this paper is, what is spiritual warfare really? So many of us are familiar with military metaphors like, putting on the armor of God, or hearing about battles between good and evil forces in the heavens. Sales flips this idea on its head and says, wait, what if the Bible is showing us less of a cosmic battle zone and more of a cosmic courtroom? I think that's a pretty cool twist. So instead of seeing spiritual conflict as a battlefield, this paper looks at it as a legal drama, like Law and Order, but with eternal consequences. The author digs deep into the biblical narrative, rooting their argument in passages from books like Job, Zechariah, Daniel, and Revelation. You know those scenes with the adversary, sometimes called Satan, showing up and making all these accusations. Well, Sales points out that Satan's role is primarily as an accuser, kind of like a cosmic prosecutor. Imagine being hauled into court and the case against you is literally everything you've ever done wrong. Yikes. So why is this important for, anyone listening? Because according to the research, this framework transforms how we understand guilt, forgiveness, and what Jesus' atoning work really accomplished, not just on earth, but in the actual fabric of reality itself. So, it's about understanding what the gospel is for, on a cosmic, almost philosophical level. Let's talk methods and findings. The paper traces the structure of spiritual conflict using a juridical, meaning legal framework. It examines words like Satan and paraclete, which means advocate or helper, places them in historical and linguistic context, and shows how these roles are described as part of a larger heavenly courtroom. Imagine God as the judge, Satan as the prosecutor, humanity in the defendant's seat, and Christ as the advocate or defense attorney. And, this is the big argument, when Jesus, through his death and resurrection, satisfies the demands of justice, it's like the prosecution's case falls apart, the charges get thrown out of court. A key passage the author focuses on is Hebrews 9:23. That's the verse about the heavenly things needing purification, not just earthly things, but the heavens themselves. If you've ever scratched your head at that line, Sales argues it makes sense if you see it as cleansing the very courtroom where accusations can even be made. So the cross, in this view, didn't just forgive humanity. It also wiped out the legal basis for the accuser to function, leading to Satan's expulsion from the heavenly courtroom. The research walks through interpretations from major Christian thinkers like John Calvin, Martin Luther, Jonathan Edwards, even Jesse Penn Lewis, to show this legal structure isn't new, but it's often overlooked in favor of more, dramatic imagery. But Sales is pretty meticulous about grounding this idea in both ancient Jewish and Christian sources. So what does all of this mean for, you, the listener? The paper suggests that if spiritual conflict is legal at its heart, then things like guilt, accusation, and justification aren't just emotional or psychological, they're woven into the architecture of the universe. There's a moral and juridical order, and the cross rewrites the legal reality of your standing in that order. If you're a believer, accusation doesn't have the same basis anymore because the case has been dismissed. So wherever you're at, whether you're spiritually curious or just love a good legal drama, I hope this episode leaves you with something to ponder: spiritual conflict as a court case. That's one way to see the greatest story ever told.